those, billions of dollars of transaction that you did, and how you assisted in that.
Yeah. So those transactions were very different from the transactions you do as an early stage fund, right?
Yeah.
I sometimes joke that VC investing is more like dating. The number of chances you take and the faster you move, the probability of you winning is higher. And P investments are more like marriage, that you have to be very careful, very deliberate. Once you've done it, there is no going back. You can't erase it very quickly from your life.
That's a
So
good brain tattoo.
yeah, so the mindset that one has while making PE investments is I cannot have a write-off. Not just
Hmm,
a write-off, I cannot even have less than 1x coming out of a single investment of mine.
hmm,
So I need to very much be sure that this is an investment I need to make.
hmm,
And this investment can at least generate 10% return.
hmm,
It's okay not to have 40% return. It's also okay not to have 15% return.
hmm,
But a minimum of 10%, which is my capital plus hurdle rate,
hmm,
has to be generated. Otherwise, there's a drag.
hmm,
So the downside protection tends to be more of an important aspect to look into as opposed to the upside. The
hmm.
upside is more cream that you generate, but the downside is very, very important to sort of cap.
Yeah.
So that is how we would look at transactions. So once you start looking at every transaction, you have to make sure that the level of diligence that goes into it can take up to 6 months to 1 year as well. Because
Hmm,
it has to be deep, it has to be intense. For us, reconciling every dollar that comes out and knowing where every molecule is moving and what is the growth potential of every molecule, it becomes super important. So what I mean by that is if we are doing a transaction, we would go asset by asset, look at product by product, analyze how they have performed in the past, and what is the growth opportunity or go to market in the next 2 years for them to generate a certain amount of value.
hmm,
Which also means things that don't work out. How do you create a 100-day, 200-day operating plan after you have made an investment to really take this company to the next level? So we wouldn't just make financial investments, but truly add value in terms of generating dollars from there on, which is why it took such a long time. But this was just the product angle of it. Beyond the product angle, there's a capital markets angle as well.
hmm,
Because most of these companies are large, some of these companies are publicly listed, and they also have complicated debt structures. So, for example, one of the companies we were looking at had two classes of shares that were listed in the New York Stock Exchange. Plus, on top of that, they had 7 or 8 different debt products, from term loans to revolving credit lines to your small sort of letter of credit that they would use to be able to trade better. So when you're taking it public, you have to not just look at the underlying asset, but on top of that, how is all of these financing working out?
hmm.
And can you add a better layer of financing to be able to generate value out of it? So it's actually very interesting to marry how growth will finance itself. And if not, what is the other form of financing to generate higher growth out of it?
Yeah.
So today, when you're looking at the burn businesses within, a startup, the last thought that you have is if I'm spending 100 rupees to acquire customer, is my ROI higher than that? ROI not in terms of revenue, but in terms of the final sort of cash flow that is generated.
Hmm,
Because in a large transaction or large business, you are going to be mostly financing it through cash flow generation. Every dollar of capex, every dollar that is spent on growing the business, you're trying to understand, can I generate a 20% on it
hmm.
so that I can drive value and invest?
Exactly.